also in this project, we have multiple stakeholders that includes University of California, UCLA, and University of Sunny New York as well, and some blockchain companies and some developing companies as well, and some funding organization. We have been engaged in a couple of projects. As you know, that I have been working on multiple projects. One of them is the media, Rohingya Vision, our vision. So that is going quite well. And along with that, we have been working for last 3 to 4 years on a few projects called the Rohingya Archive. So Rohingya Archive has a couple of parts. One of them is called the Rohingya Genocide Archive. So this is where we talk to international, international justice mechanism like ICC, ICJ, and all those, so that we are collecting all this evidence and taking all this evidence into some sort of vetting and verification and all this, so that it can become a viable thing, a viable evidence, basically to produce. So that is one of the projects we're working continuously. So we had a launch about 2 weeks ago. So we have brought different stakeholders from different part of the world, from the legal side, from justice mechanism, and so on. But at the same time, we have also another parallel initiative that is under the Rohingya Project, which is called RHA, Rohingya Historical Archive. So we have been doing this since 2020, I guess, and almost like 2 to 3 years now. What we do is, one is the genocide archive, is to collect the evidence of genocide. This one is to collect all the evidence that Rohingya possess back in Arakan, like national identity card, family registration card, this card. So this is some serious, valuable information. And we started this with some of the blockchain companies as well. One of them called Arweave. So we are working with Arweave we have built a software also on the Arweave as well, with a couple of technological company. So the idea is to take all this information and encrypt them. And then, of course, there's a lot of other ways we are not uploading the whole, the data on the blockchain itself. It's a lot of encryption on the browser, and then uploading it to the. We're also talking to a couple of other blockchain companies, such as Filecoin and all this, to historically preserve this thing, basically. So we are now on a phase 2. Phase 1 finish. We did about a 60 to 70 document in 2021. So in 2022, by end of the 2022, we are estimating a bit bigger volume. So there's a lot of things, not only on the system part, but on the ground. There's a lot of things we need to communicate with people, get their consensus, get this pictured or scanned, and then get their testimony. So we also, in this project, we have multiple stakeholders that includes University of California, UCLA, and University of Sunny New York as well, and some blockchain companies and some developing companies as well, and some funding organization. Last year, the project was funded by the Roddenberry Foundation from the state, so on. So these are a couple of things that we have been engaged with. So RHA is also a continuous thing that we are now also building the web app for the to interact with the Arweave blockchain, so that it has different keys, private keys, and so on. So that's what we have been working on as well. So moving forward, in terms of the digital identity that we have discussed last time, right? So we are trying to work with multiple. So those are some of the projects that we are running. But in terms of the the ultimate goal that we had, which is the social and financial inclusion platform. So these are all the pieces and parts that we are working as a pilot and trying to get secure partners and funding and so on. But in terms of the financial inclusion, we are trying to look into ways how can we work with some of the local telecom, because people are also facing difficulties in getting access to the internet in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, in even some part of Saudi Arabia. We're talking about financial inclusion and digitally empowering people, but the basic access to the internet also without a SIM card, without a line, is getting
Exactly.
almost impossible. So that's another issue that we are facing. We are working with a couple of organizations. Actually, there's one organization in the US called, I don't know where, not the US, in Europe. It's like a consortium of all technological company called N50. So N50 is a collaborative, a lot of geek companies basically do a lot of development on the humanitarian sector called N50. So we are actually part of that consortium, and in trying to explore different ways and alternative ways of how can we deploy telecommunication companies as well, and then look into different ways of. So that's a couple of things we are working on.
Okay.
And so lastly, not the least, but we have something been working on for some time, which is an art academy. So basically, the Rohingya project is a package of couple of things. One is how can we give education, how can we give access to the internet, and how can we use blockchain technology, to compensate with each other, because having a standalone digital identity might not work. Having only financial tool also might not work. Education is also equally important. So these are three aspects that we have been working on, and trying to develop on each of it, right? So our academy is also under our project. And we have been doing multiple courses online and offline, trying to teach digital marketing, trying to teach some hardcore skills to the community, giving to the community, and so on. So that is what we are now working on for a new chapter of our academy, where we want to introduce a very short courses
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a long courses so that people can apply and get this course done. And of course, eventually, we are also thinking how can we also do some sort of redemption like airdrop, or through the coin that we have introduced called the R coin earlier. And in that sense, which like everybody else is working on, right? So, but we have been working on the compensation since the beginning in our academy. But we wanted to now integrate the blockchain aspect of, and the wallet and the drop and so on. So that's what so this is all still in the as we sell the initial stage that we are trying to, but we are continuously communicating with the local community, because local community faces a lot of different challenges in different countries. In India, it's quite difficult even now uh, uh, to, to get internet access. Similarly, goes back to Bangladesh. Bangladesh now, and also Malaysia, where I am now. With the refugee card, you are not allowed to have a SIM card anymore. You are not allowed to have. So these are a lot of local challenges that we have now newly facing for last 1 or 2 years. So now they have to find a local to buy a SIM card and get access. So that's how
Yeah,
difficult
I mean,
things.
okay, so first I want to see the points of contact because I think this would be great for when you come on our show. We have the Intercoin show, first of all. Did Elena
Yes,
tell you about it? Yeah.
yes, yes.
I would love for you to tell all of this. You know, you should also direct people to learn about the Rohingya story. You can talk about it, but also I see you've produced videos that are very informative. When I went to Rohingya Project, um, what you see is what you're talking about here. And I told you last year that we are building the technology exactly to support your use cases. So, as you can imagine, we've done a lot of work since then, and we're able to support a lot of the things. So, let's take, for example, our academy, right? You guys are producing the content. Where are you going to host it? So, you said they need internet, right? That was a big thing. And without the internet, how are they going to access it? Well, we have the solution. One of the things that we've been working on with our technology is called the teaching app. The teaching app essentially lets you combine any resources that you take from the internet, like YouTube, etc. Okay, but you can build your own course, and then you can also, on top of that, build um assessments, quizzes to see how people are doing, get instant feedback like every day, and figure out how each person is doing. And can be done much more cheaply than the schools in the real world. So this is an app that any teacher can use. And what's interesting is they can use it without the internet. Now I'll get to that in a moment. How you can get intranets, because a lot of, like I said, tribes in Africa and in India, rural areas, they don't have good internet anyway. And even in this country, the United States, okay, there's a lot of places with not so good internet connectivity. So it turns out that a lot of what you can do is local. Anytime you make a doctor's appointment, it's local. Anytime you date, go to dinner, go to the movies, go do something together, it's local. Okay, uh, local prayer schedule, local mosques. All of these things are local. That's number one. So there's no need for the signal to travel all the way to California and back. All right, that's one thing. My company Cubics is built around that. All right, so you see the new website, by the way. We organized.
Great. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. You like how it looks?
Yeah. The cubic, the animation, fantastic.
Yeah. So like we got people around the world now. This is a visualization of people using our software. This is all the different
Mm.
reviews in the app stores. There's China, there's India. So a lot of the countries. Now, having said all of that, um,
And
Cubics.
your app,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Sorry, so just
Please.
to cut because before I forget. So we were actually thinking to look for a solution where, for our academy, where a person can come in and register for a course and then do the quiz or do the test and then to generate a certificate automatically. Does that do that
Oh
or
yeah.
how?
Not only can we do that, we can also mint an NFT. So the certificate
Uh-huh.
can, if you want, it
Okay.
can be. But to be honest with you, the NFT stuff is it's too overdone, overblown. Why?
Overblown.
Yeah,
Correct.
because the certificate is not something you can transfer. If you did the work and you did the course, then it's yours, right? NFTs is something you can transfer, and so it doesn't make sense for certificate. But these are the kinds of things that we have been building. Let me show you. For example, with Intercoin, we have not NFTs necessarily that you can transfer, but exactly what you said, certificates. Actually, that's maybe a good word for it. So, for example, let me just go to this Dropbox. NFT roles. We call them roles because you join a community and you earn your role uh, after you complete tasks like a course, for example. But you can also earn a role by helping your community in other ways. Um, so here are animated GIFs that can be used on any site. So just as an example, here is this is static, but here is you see. So this is if you graduated from something. Elena is working with ambassadors. So, for example, you, right, around the world,
Okay.
people who bring communities. This is just one type of role, one type of community. It's our own community, right? People who downloaded our software, bought some stuff. So these are examples of kind of certificate, right? These are examples of certificates that people have, and you can easily see on the blockchain who they are, like partners, right? And people can have more than one. But yeah, like back to what I was saying, like we helped a bunch of organizations. You could hear the testimonials of people already. But going back to this, so our academy, okay, how to organize the course material, how to test people on this material, and also very importantly, the teachers should be able to, the course creators should be able to fork like GitHub, okay? Not to redo the work from zero, but to remix and to reuse, okay?
Correct.
So that's something that we want to create also, collaboration. Don't do all the work yourself. Reuse and customize other material that other teachers already used. So there's a continuous feedback loop. It's not in a vacuum, only one directional. Everything we do is try to be multi-directional, right? People from the ground organizing. All right. So basically, also there might be something where you can have the parents can have the kids be watched, because a big part of the school is to keep the kids out of trouble, and learning, making sure. But you can decouple this from the school. So what happens is in the United States, they have so much money allocated to schooling. And right now there's student loans, that were forgiven, and there's $1.5 trillion for that. These days, you could have a lot of the education happen online. And who can take care of the kids is actually a separate question if the education is online, you see. And so we're building this for New York public schools, some of them, other schools around the globe. So this is not going to be just for refugee populations. This could be for a lot of different groups. But we are going to use it ourselves. So just to give you another one example before I move on. Here is a course that we're teaching outside of schools. Okay, so they would be putting together a course. So here's a course, for example. We have the teachers recording the course. One moment. Yeah, guys, what do you think? A lot of people are, coming from work and they're trying to get home to their family. Do you think they're going to have time for a course to learn something new? Why do you think they want to? Hi, I'm Greg Magershak, founder and CEO of Intercoin. Intercoin was spun out of my company, Cubics, which I started 10 years ago, in order to help people to create their own blockchain solutions. We spent over $500,000 and a lot of developer time to create the kind of solutions that everybody needs right now. If you're worried about, hey, how am I going to build this? Where's my developer? How am I going to support these things? Don't worry. That's what we are here to do.
And blockchain technology, I want everyone to understand, and this is why we're doing this course, is that it's going to change every aspect of your life, and especially your business. Everything in business is going to be affected by blockchain, whether it's the financial industry, or the healthcare industry, or the retail, or what everyone is talking about NFTs right now, whether it's the artists or journalism. Every single thing, no matter what you do in your life, no matter what business you are right now, I can guarantee that it will be affected by blockchain technology one way or another.
I'm Lucas Antonato, founder and CEO of Luxury. We are located on the 4th penthouse of the Bryant Park studio. And as everybody knows, it's one of the most famous buildings in the city. It was built only for artists, and during the years, people like Irving Penn, Norman Rockwell, George O'Keeffe, Frank Sinatra, and Jimi Hendrix as well was living in the building. I had the opportunity to meet Greg Marov, and we had the idea to build the first very exclusive blockchain course. And I was super excited when they were talking to me about this, and I hope that you can enjoy this.
So we've partnered with Merov and Luca because we wanted to actually start to create a mainstream application of crypto. See, crypto is just like the web. If you think about the 1990s, 2000s, there was a revolution, okay? Before the web, how would you publish information? How would you get anything out there? There's radio, TV. The web almost destroyed all that over the next 10 years, right? The web allowed people to publish anytime, permissionlessly, their own things. It created a lot of new information and, more importantly, a lot of business models that were previously not possible. Things like e-commerce or software as a service became trillion-dollar opportunities around the world. Well, today, blockchain is poised to revolutionize business the same way. And that's what you're going to learn in this course. You're going to learn the why of blockchain. Why does blockchain exist and what problems does it solve? Then you're going to learn the how. How do you leverage it to actually make money? You don't have to know tech. You don't have to be a developer, a designer. Anyway, you get the point. So this is a kind of video.
Good. Very interesting. Okay.
All right.
So this is like a series of courses you are building, is it?
Exactly. We're using the Cubics technology, which allows you to have participants in the course, charge them money, charge them using credits that are powered either by the banking system or powered by the crypto system.
Okay.
All of that is done. All of that is ready to go. Only thing is to build the course software. And so we're starting to do that with our own courses. Here's how's a website starting to look that I have. This is one of our colleagues in Pakistan, and he's building it here. His name is Saad. Let's see. Here we go. Blockchain course. This is just an example. He's putting together the site. So it's a WordPress site, but it's going to be integrating the Cubics educational technology, right? So we started finally integrating with the most mainstream things. WordPress for presentation, right? Publishing, and also integrating with Discourse for forum software, okay? For collaboration, communication. So this is a course. This is how much it costs. Early birds later to. This is more for making money as well for the teachers, just to show you. By the way, these courses don't have to be only offered to the Rohingya people. If you have them taking alongside other people, you can subsidize the Rohingya population, right, with credits, but actually have people pay for the course, right? In India and Pakistan and all over the world, potentially.
Like an example, I can say that in UK we had an event where all UK citizens were paying the ticket price for the attendance to event, but all the Ukrainian refugees in UK were coming for free. And the price that it was affected, obviously, Ukrainian people needs to eat as well at the event, and the person who is from UK paying for meal for themselves and one person from Ukraine. So we kind of paid double for Ukrainian people to attend for free at the event. And it was really fantastic to see how many Ukrainians were able to attend the event. And they really enjoyed it. It was very big live event in Canary Wharf in London.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. Yeah. So, yes. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
And then we can.
Sure, absolutely. So basically, what I'm telling you is that when we have when we have the teaching app ready to go, it's built using Cubics technology, right? These building blocks. Right? And now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the second part of what you're saying, which is the internet access. Okay? So I remember, first of all, internet access was hard even for the native Indians and rural Indians. So for example, India, internet, Facebook, This was like before 2018, something like this. You probably remember. Facebook's biggest setback. India rejected their offer. So this was maybe 10 years ago. You probably remember this. India and Google, they went around the world, to Africa, to India, and they wanted to build their infrastructure with their things. Google had Project Loon with the balloons. I think they still might have it with some things. They put balloons in the atmosphere and have them provide internet. Then there was also Facebook drones with internet. They discontinued that, but they had it before, and they were flying over, and they tried to make solar drones. Well, now Elon Musk, right, has the satellites, and
yes.
that's a big one, and he's helping in Ukraine, to maintain internet connectivity. But I am here to tell you that we as a society have started to take for granted the always-on broadband, the fast connections that you have, right, for videos and for everything.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you that people don't have fast connections in most of the world, right? I mean, billions of people don't have access to something they could just stream a video like this.
Ever wanted to release your own app?
Right, they have to buffer the video, they have to save it, they have to queue it up overnight, okay, and then play it. And it's a very different dynamic, right?
Correct. Yes.
Furthermore, these people, they have access to Wi-Fi a lot of the time, local, municipal broadband, okay? So municipal broadband is something that is here in the United States, okay? But the companies are not happy about it in the United States. I'm going to talk globally in a moment, but I just want to say here in the United States, the reason is that they're actually suing the cities. Yes, the corporations are suing the cities in state courts to block the development of broadband. The red parts are the explicit restrictions that they put. Yellow is other roadblocks, and then green is where they can continue. Normally, you would probably see mostly the new kind of more liberal Democrat states, but not always. But the point is that, like Alaska, for example, is a very rural state, and it's Republican, but they want better connectivity. So it's not necessarily a Democrat or Republican issue. It's more an issue of bringing the internet to people who otherwise the corporations may not reach. Okay? And so what I was talking about here with Facebook and Google and Elon Musk, sometimes you got a guy like Elon Musk who just wants to give it to refugees. And that's a huge, powerful motivation. And if you decentralize that motivation to all the people, you're going to have people crowdfunding things like internet access, things like access to food, clothing, and other necessities. So the other thing we wanted to build, and this is what I want to talk to you about, is the refugee fund. But before I get to the refugee fund, I just want to talk about the internet access for one moment, and then we'll go to the refugee fund. So the internet access, it turns out that you don't need the internet for most of the applications that people use every day. So let's go through those applications. Actually, before I go through, let me just play a video, maybe be better, because it's better produced. All right? Here's the video and what it says.
The social platforms that we use today are all centralized. Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Uber, or any of a dozen others, both people and organizations have come to rely on giant monolithic platforms to connect them, mediate their interactions, and trust them with their data, identity, and brand. It starts simply enough. A few smart entrepreneurs build a useful platform. They get their first users, and pretty soon it becomes clear that this platform is the next big thing. Investors start putting in money as more and more people around the world join this centralized platform. Now, third-party developers are invited to build apps on top of it, adding even more value to the community. The problem is that it's all centralized. One company controls all the interactions. People build their social identity on its domain. Companies host their brand identity on there too. Developers get API keys to build atop the platform. At any time, the platform could delete an account, shut down a community, or revoke API keys of a developer. It could start charging more, or just shut down the service altogether. Now consider how we interact in real life. On the left, Bob and Alice are working in an office. They're thinking of grabbing lunch later. Alice and Carol plan to catch a movie that weekend. Across the street, a professor is teaching a class where they all collaborate on a document together. What happens today is that signals travel all the way to the centralized platform, to the company's servers, hosted far away in another country or state. This requires scaling up, and money is spent on giant server farms. Storing all the people's information in one place attracts advertisers and government agencies looking to collect information about people in bulk. Open source software can help change this paradigm. It's software that anyone can download and install, or even freely build on top of. Let's say a person wants to host their own website or blog. They choose their own web host and install WordPress, an open source blogging platform. Now they can publish their own blog to their friends or over the internet to anyone in the world. They can also install WordPress plugins developed by people all around the world to extend their blog in new ways. The whole time they stay in control of their own data and their own website. Cubics began as a social network just like any other. We had a vision to help people get together in the real world, so we built several apps. Real-life events, group rides, conversations, a marketplace to buy and sell, and dating. Then we realized we built a social platform that can benefit entire communities. So we went ahead and made it open source. Suppose you're a community that works hard to organize events and programs, but now you want to release an app for your members to interact with each other. You set up a server, install Cubics, and now your members can do all these things on their own time, helping unite your community. You can then install even more apps and plugins developed by others around the world, and it all works locally on your own servers. This leads to an organic, decentralized ecosystem. Communities host social apps on their own servers, which run Cubics. Developers build more apps, which they can sell directly to the communities without fear of being disconnected by a centralized platform. They can build entire businesses around the apps and plugins they develop. Meanwhile, people can have an account in one or more communities and control their identity as they move between them.
So you see, that's the vision of Cubics. That's what we build on the social side.
Great.
So basically, do you see now? We have some applications for teachers. We have other applications coming out, okay? But the difference between us and everybody else is that we built an open source platform, and we understand that you don't need the internet necessarily 95% of the time. As long as one guy has the video in the village, right? As long as everything, they can make the dinner plans on a local server, and they can date, and they can have babies, and have families and weddings, and help each other, and the job board, right? Marketplace. So that's what we've been building, those 5 applications: dating, marketplace, teaching, that kind of stuff. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is the refugee fund. And then I want to hear how we can work together. So the refugee fund is something that has come about pretty recently. I'm working with some people from Dubai, actually. You can meet them. They're connected with many agencies that help refugees. We always want more. Elena could tell you, we've been just last week, right? Just last week, we were talking to a great, we were on a panel with a great movement that raised $10 million for Ukraine. What was the name of it? I think, Elena, remind me again the name of the fund.
Do you mean the speaker that was on the panel with you?
No, the fund itself. So it turns out that the Ukraine government raised $10 million in crypto donations. I don't know whether this fund used that number to say that they raised it. I am not sure. Okay, but I want to say, for example, crypto. Where is it? What's we were just okay. I'm just gonna go to LinkedIn because I added them right after this. So let's see, my network. This guy, let's say Viktor Panchenko. No, this is something else. This is something else. He's reaching out to me. I'm talking about connections. Here we go. Unchained Fund. All right. So Unchained Fund. You see, he also produces educational materials. But what's interesting is Unchained Fund raised $10 million by helping connect donors around the world who can donate in all of these different currencies and then give it out to the people on the ground. Vitalik donated, okay, CEOs of other things. And so if we build something like this for the Rohingya people, okay, and for refugees in general around the world, this can be a continuous way by which people in the world will donate. But, very importantly, when you're giving out the fund, when you're giving out money, people want to know transparency. They want to know who is getting the cards, who is getting the being able to pay out. So that's what we're doing. And basically, if you go to Refugee Fund, one big part of it is making sure that we know the identity of each refugee. And that's where your identity platform comes in, okay? We don't, people are worried, what if a person gets 20 accounts? What if someone who is not a refugee pretends to be a refugee and gets 30 accounts, okay? And gets some free money. So that's the part where we need to still build and partner with KYC, identity providers, and you guys, your identity, the thing that they need, it's not just from the government. You don't need to rely on the governments. You, right, on the ground, can create the identity. And what I'm here to tell you is you don't need the infrastructure necessarily that is around created by the local governments. Like you're telling me, they will not have access to some of the basic infrastructure and resources like the SIM cards. They can let them access the local cell phone towers, okay? But they can have access to local Wi-Fi. They can have access to satellite internet. But more importantly, they can have access to each other and the local apps that they run on that you can run and they can run on their own computers, okay, using mesh networks locally. And something like FireChat, for example, in Hong Kong was used in protests with very large stadiums and other people, okay. In 2014, you may have seen this. People use a peer-to-peer way to transfer information. It's a little slower, but not much slower. And in fact, if you go in a big crowd,
how does it work through Bluetooth or from a phone to another phone?
It can work through Bluetooth. It's one of the channels. It can work through Bluetooth. That's basically what it does. So all of these, Serval Mesh, Commotion, Storymaker, like basically all of these types of apps, okay, there's antennas that you can build. I know venture capitalists that like the GoTenna, for example, is an antenna that is a mobile mesh networking. This is the hardware piece, okay? If we partner with these people, I've yet to bring these people on the show, but they develop some cool hardware. It's not hard to do that you can use anywhere, okay? You can use it in the woods if you want. So this is what I'm talking about. You don't need the infrastructure that the governments, because you're going to be waiting a long time for some political approval Okay, instead of that, how about leveraging the crowd, just like these guys from the Ukraine Unchained Fund, right? Leverage the crowd, raise money, and we can. That's what I want to help you first. So like stage one is like, how about we raise money? Okay. So we would basically deploy we could partner together. You guys would essentially be partnering like this. You would be a part of the refugee fund, not just for Ukraine and not just for Rohingya people, but also there's refugees around the world from many different crises, okay, like in Syria, like in Nigeria, and so on. So what we're doing, and I want to play one more video for you and then hear what you have to say, if you don't mind. Here, I'm just going to say the Refugee Fund. There's refugees from crises around the world, including Yemen, Afghanistan, Ukraine, etc. Okay. We use our smart contracts and we launch a front-end interface, which will be hosted at refugee.fund. This is you. Agencies on the ground work with refugees to sign up and ensure every refugee has at most one account, and issue certificates allowing refugees and their families to sign transactions. By the way, the certificates from learning, you can get more money if you complete certain tasks. So that way it will bridge the gap. The people will be motivated to complete tasks because they're going to get more of the money. Our platform helps multiple agencies join into a self-regulatory organization. In other words, right now we're trusting you to make sure everyone has one identity. But it's better to have 3 or 4 independent organizations. So if one becomes corrupt and decides to give money to some, individuals, then other organizations are going to say, no, actually these individuals are just one guy, or we can't corroborate this identity. People around the world will donate crypto tokens. The fund is distributed directly as universal basic income to refugees and their families. The agencies work with the refugees and invite local vendors. This is the hardest part, is getting local landlords to accept our coin, right? Local businesses to accept it. But so we can help them to accept USDC, USDT, and in fact, we can help to create the kind of cards that you saw basically here. I'm talking right now to partners so that they don't even need to know. They're just going to be using the card. Local vendors are KYC'd, added to a whitelist, and then these vendors are allowed to cash out. Finally, the blockchain address of each business is tagged, food, clothing, etc. So the donors can see how the money is being used by the people on the ground, statistics showing average prices of each category spending every week. This is what we're building. So just to summarize, we're building a teaching platform. We're building a community platform that you could use around the world. And this community platform runs on infrastructure that doesn't require the internet at all. All of your stuff delivered locally to your local chapters or your local organizations and so on. And finally, we want to connect using crypto permissionlessly with no governments standing in the way of people being able to donate directly to each community on the ground, see the people in the community, communicate with them, and understand exactly how their money is making a difference by having what is essentially having statistics on how the money is being used. So that's an example. This is we're working on metaverse, and we're also working on communication like we're doing, where you don't need Google, you don't need Zoom, you don't need governments, and you literally run everything on your local servers. That's basically what we're doing.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing all this information. Yeah, so let's try to recap a couple of things that you have mentioned. So I'm quite interested in the teaching aspect because that's what we wanted to also. I think this is a way to collaborate and synergize, through the teaching as a beginning. So maybe we can work on something on the teaching along with, so let's say we want to, you have a system, maybe I need to get around the system and check what is the features available, and what extent can we use, and how, and so on. But at the same time, you also mentioned about the refugee fund, right? So the refugee fund, you're trying to set up a page, or how you want to go that about?
We're going to set up a page, but the page is only the front end to the portal. What we actually, let me share my screen one more time. And then I'm going to send you this demo, okay? And if you don't mind,
Okay.
can I share it also with some VCs? Because I think we can get money behind it. I think this was a good. I don't always describe it all in one place. It's constantly improving.
Yeah, correct. Yes, yes.
You know. Okay. So. The applications of Intercoin. Okay, so the refugee fund will indeed be just a web page. Okay. And it's going to be optimized to raise money. It will show it will show what we're doing, right? The card. It will show donations, who is donating, who is the leaderboard. It's going to show how much was donated. Like all of that is going to be there, okay? But the magic is coming from, first of all, the crypto side, right? So when you have something like, for example, the community DAO, or the, let's say, universal basic income. Okay? Everything, as you can see here, everything that we do is documented and people talk about it. And here is Elena, in fact. But it's going to be given out through crypto. So the way that works is we're going to create our coin, let's say, as a local currency. For example, we don't have to do it that way. We could do directly with USDC. But it would be, I think, useful to have our coin branded and running on Polygon. I think they're the most, I like them more than Ethereum even. And a lot of the partners that I have from Dubai, like Richard, like Scott Richards and others who helped to build it, actually, a lot of these funds, they also like Polygon. Anyways, so what we do is we build a coin for the community. So step one is just we release our coin as a token.
Okay.
Step two is the UBI part. This is where you guys come in and you have to make sure everyone has identity, on the blockchain certificate. And like I said before, you're the first one, but there should be multiple organizations. Like, it's called SRO, self-regulating organization of organizations, right? And so the goal is just to say, you can check us, right? That this is really a person and not just like one person has 20 accounts. So then we reward members for actions. Like, for example, if somebody is able to bring a business on board to the refugee fund so that this business is now getting paid within the system, then you don't need the banking system anymore and you don't need these cards. Right? You don't need these cards. The cards are only because of the banking system. If you notice the theme of everything we're doing, right? If you notice everything I've been talking about, it's about providing an alternative to the governments and the banking system and the big tech corporations. It's not easy to build something like that, and that's why it took us 10 years to do. But we have built open source infrastructure that's an alternative to big tech, big finance, and governments. It's not that people don't need governments, or people right now don't need governments. It's that there should be an alternative, right? There should be an alternative to the government's money supply, which they may not get a hold of, so they may not be able to eat. There may be an alternative to the government's media monopoly on, sometimes they look at the wars in Yemen and Ukraine and everywhere. The media is always controlled, right?
Yes.
This is why I think the people around the world can use the internet to inform each other. But they don't need to use the internet 24/7. They can use the internet to move the files and the videos and materials around. but once they have them locally, they can use them locally. But the point is that imagine if people on the ground showed how they lived, right? That's something we have to highlight. We have to make sure that each person on this platform has an account, and ideally, this account, their profile would be come with videos and things that they record. Okay, and you can talk to them. You may be able to, but this is real time, so again, it might not be feasible what we're doing now for everybody. But what I could tell you is, you could do teaching that's not real time. You could do quizzes and stuff, and this repository of personal videos that they record doesn't need the internet. So what's important is in the war zone, okay, like Mariupol recently in Ukraine, right? People, millions of people have this. They have their phones. They have dash cams on their cars. They have security cameras on the buildings. They have drones, some of them. And so when you get footage like this, okay, this is possible only because, not because of necessarily, again, official Associated Press accredited news bureaus, but this is actually, this is sometimes news bureaus. This is official drone footage, okay, and it shows the devastation, in this case, Homs, Syria, okay, this is the most devastated city that I know in Syria. Total devastation. It's even beyond Mariupol by many orders. Let's just say it's completely destroyed. I don't know what it looked like before, but this is citizen journalism. These, let me see. Some of these shots were actually taken by, one second. This is still, one second. This is still, I think, official. But what I'm saying is some of these shots are actually taken from, here, maybe this. My point is that people around the world have cameras and they can capture a rocket attack from 10 different angles. They can capture, and that's what it's about. It's about the same quality, but people need to get the word out. And what's happening in Ukraine, in Russia, because this is, you see these kids, they launched a drone, okay? This is my point. You don't need the government, you don't need the mass media to tell you what to think and selectively give you shots of the people. As you probably have the same situation in Burma, right? In Myanmar. The government is probably censoring a lot of the stories of the Rohingya, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? I actually want to understand the situation there. Is it being censored or what?
Yes. I mean, Burma is like any other conflict zone in different parts of the world. So Arakan, where we live, where the Rohingya lives, are actually the most blockaded area. Apart from the other states of Burma. So other states also have a lot of rebels and freedom fighters that are fighting. There are more than 18 to 19 rebels that are actually fighting with the Burmese military junta to
18 or
to
19
have
individual rebels, or are you saying like platoons or something?
individual rebels. Yes, individual rebels that are fighting on different parts of Burma. And Arakan is one state of Burma which host the Rohingya themselves, which
Wait,
is
just
been
one
now
thing. 18 or 19 people? You're saying are
no
fighting?
rebel groups,
Rebel groups. That's what I was
rebel
asking.
groups.
Okay.
Yes, rebel groups.
And how big are these groups?
Each some of them from a couple of hundreds to a couple of thousands.
Wow.
All these groups are, so they are constantly fighting in Kaching, Kerrang, and many different, in the name of religion, in the name of opium, in the name of drugs, in the name of border, in the name of different parts, and in the name of ethnicity, and so on. So, and among those, Rohingya case is the most severe case. So I'm just trying to make sense of what is going on. So Arakan is now Arakan is bordering with Bangladesh, India, and Indian Ocean, and so on. So Arakan is totally blockaded, and no Rohingya can go in and out of Arakan, and they cannot move around. So if you want to move around from one village to another, you need documentation, you need permission to move around. From one city to another, you can't move. And there is no internet access, there is no electricity, and most of the schools are shut down. And Rohingya cannot speak their own language, and it's considered, illegal, cannot write their own scripts, and so on. So, um, beside this, there is a huge, long way of, track record of genocide that has been going on from 1962, where people are constantly persecuted in systematic way. That you are not allowed to marry without permission. You are not allowed to move from one place to another. You are not allowed to have even a sharp knife. You are not allowed to do this. You are not allowed to participate in politics. You are not allowed to do that. You're not allowed. So that has been continuously going on. And today, unfortunately, the result of those genocidal acts is that more than 80% Rohingya are now kicked out of Arakan, kicked out of Burma. So 1.5 million people lives in Bangladesh, and followed by Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and many other, and including the Western countries, those who went there through resettlement, through the refugee and United Nations and so on. So having said that, so Rohingya is totally, the infrastructure of Rohingya is totally destroyed. Identity is destroyed, land is being taken away, and people cannot communicate with each other. The language itself is totally broken and destroyed. And now people in diaspora is trying to build all those. And we are one of those people who are trying to rebuild that. So one of them is language. So people can read and write. And now I'm also working on multiple projects. As I told you, one of them is how can we digitize Rohingya language? So I have started this project in 1995. Up till today, we have teamed up with different universities all around the world. Today, Unicode has accepted it. Android has already adopted in version 11, now Android version 12. And iOS have already, now people can read and write in their iOS, in iPhone, in Android. And now Microsoft is about to adopt as well. So this language is now progressing, and we have also built our first Rohingya language website, and constantly, we're producing news. So that is one thing that we are working on continuously, rebuilding the language and the literature. And along with that, also trying to communicate and trying to connect people through a media, which is the R Vision, where we can talk about our pain, our side of the story to the rest of the world, and what is going on in the rest of the world, we can tell to the Rohingya in the local Rohingya language. So that's what another initiative we are working on. Football is another one that I'm working on as well, trying to build harmony among the Rohingya community to play football called Rohingya Football Club, and so on. Of course, education is another part. There's a lot of team involved behind all these projects. I'm not only the one, I'm not the person in front, but there's a lot of people in front of me and behind me that working on how can we build the language, how can we build new content into language, and how can we push the media. And of course, the Rohingya Project is also, we are working on digital archive and so on. But overall, what we are trying to do is trying to rebuild the community that the Burmese government has destroyed.
We also have freedom.
Sorry, go ahead. I there's some videos there.
Yes. So those are some of the things that we are doing, and in the context of Rohingya and Arakan and Burma.
I'm just gonna share so you see what I was doing. Yes, go ahead. So basically, what you're saying is all of these things are It's one of the groups, right? It's, I think, Tamil Tigers was a Tamil group in Sri Lanka. There's a Sri Lanka,
In Sri Lanka,
right?
yes, in Sri Lanka, yes.
And you're trying to rebuild it, the language. You're trying to rebuild all of the stuff that.
The identity, education, and everything that for last 60 to 70 years, Burmese government has destroyed. So that's why we call it a genocide, because they have systematically destroyed all this. The the morality of people, identity of people, grabbing their lands, kicking them out of the land, and preventing their right, their birthright, marriage right, right of restrictions, and all those things. So those are. That's why today, if you can look at it, Rohingya is one of the most persecuted nation, which is declared by the United Nations as well, because it has been going on for decades. And Rohingya is not only been, as a lot of people says that they've been persecuted, but not only the genocide part of it, but I always say, if today Rohingya are given full access to education and to citizenship right and so on, it's gonna take maybe another 50 to 100 years to rebuild what they have destroyed for the entire nation. So there's a lot of work that need to be done, unfortunately, and the literate people are very less within the community, because for last 60 to 70 years, Rohingyas were not allowed to access to education, were not allowed to access, go, from one place to another, were not allowed to have a livelihood, were not allowed to do any kind of business in Burma. And on top of that, they come and destroy the villages and destroy the livestock they have. Is a continuous persecution that was hidden away from people up till 2012. In 2012, when the massacre started, a young generation like us, and one of the major credit goes to the Rohingya media and our vision as well, is to extract all this information and blast it to the rest of the world, because Arakan is totally blockaded and no media journalists, no human rights activists can access and actually tell the story what is going on. So we converted normal citizen Rohingya people into journalists, extracting all information using mobile phone and using internet, and using, even those days we don't have internet, so we used to smuggle all this video in a memory card across the border and find an internet cafe and upload it. That kind of things we have done. So that's why today you can see on a wall stage, it has been covered. It has been, the Burmese government and the regime and the junta have been exposed globally, and their cases are all around, as people, and they've been lying for the last 30, 40 years that there's no genocide going on, they're not persecuting Rohingya and so on. But we have managed, to tell our side of the story to the world, basically.
Well,
So
exactly.
yes, among the work that we are working on is now how to rebuild. So one of them is the Rohingya Project, and within the Rohingya Project, we have our academy, which we wanted to actually do a course. So there are many things can be done. We can teach English to the Rohingya community so that they can communicate to the rest of the world, and also we can teach Rohingya language to the non-Rohingya people, so that if they want all these, humanitarian and aid workers, they constantly need to interact with the Rohingya community as well. So this is a lot of tremendous work that need to be done, and of course the element of blockchain and element of online education, and also element of connectivity using local net, intranet, or internet. It's all this is helpful basically for the entire community. And I believe this is one of the not only most persecuted, also one of the community that actually people care about the most, because they are most needy and immediate need to be catered. And also to look for a long-term solution rather than just only a short-term solution of
Exactly.
providing them with tent and handouts and so on. So
Exactly.
that's where we come in, looking for a long-term solution. So if you think that, let's say, of course, there's a lot of things I'm sure you have on your plate, and you are doing also. We are also doing quite a number of things. So maybe, if I can say that there's one place where we can actually click and connect, is the Art Academy, which is a learning module, and maybe we can also look into, let's say, we develop the course, and then how can we also secure some funding
Mm-hmm.
through that, and giving some sort of digital certification to the Rohingya once they completed this course, or maybe, distribute them some coins, just as you mentioned. So if we can work out and straighten up basically this whole module, I think, rather than talking all those other things, I think this would be a hammer on the nail directly, if we talk about how can we get, basically, we are also looking into gamification. Now
Mm-hmm.
education is gamified using all these games, and then learning and all these modules. So if there is a way that we can build, and so what we need now, and let's say, is a system that can host different courses,
Mm-hmm.
and these courses, people can come and register and do the quizzes and do the exam or whatever, and then get a certificate generated,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then along with that, if it's possible to have, to connect a wallet or something, and then drop them some airdrop, or maybe incentivization tool, like the model we call it learn to earn, like play to earn. So this is like a learn to earn model. So you
Mm-hmm.
learn more, then you earn more coin, and this coin can be redeemed through some of the network that we are working on, something like that.
I mean,
So if that,
literally, as you're watching, look at my screen here. So let's talk practically. I think we can help. I think let's work together, right? What practical
yes.
steps? So first of all, what you just mentioned, the teaching app is the platform that we're building exactly for that. The learn to earn. So we have here, you earn credits for watching videos. You see that?
Hmm.
On this number
Yes.
here, this is, you can spend these credits on many different things. So we already have, anytime you watch any clip or anything, do a show, you could watch, let me see, you could call into the show. This is Free Talk
to the
Live.
Kremlin line.
Free Talk Live is a
Mm.
libertarian radio show around the world
So
talking.
how they go, how they work? Okay, let's say we also understand, learn to earn model.
Mm-hmm.
So they say they do a course. Let's take it step by step,
Yes.
and then we can see that how can we synergize. Let's say we design a course now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, once the course is designed, of course, and then now we put it on the platform saying that please register for the course. So people come and register for the course. Once they've done the course, so they get rewarded. So how do we actually manage this reward? Where are we going to? So we have to do fundraising to sponsor this whole episode. How it's going to work?
So that's exactly why I think we should also do the refugee fund. What I see is basically,
Correct.
so we should do two things. One is the teaching platform, which I totally agree we got to start doing together. And we should take your
Yes.
courses and see how we can, step by step, put them on the platform and start getting people to register for the courses, right? Online. But the second part is the people who register for the course, they need to earn a certificate, and then they start
Mhm.
to get income. Okay, so
Yes.
if you completed at least a little course that proves, first of all, you're a real person, right? Assuming you guys can verify that. And the
Yes.
identity that you give, that's the step two. Then you start to distribute the coin to the people. The coin represents essentially how much work they did, right? How much they finished the course. But also, you know what? You can earn the coin by helping your community, around the world. Perhaps by being a tutor, like what I'm doing right now, right? I can hang out and help people locally, and perhaps they can use an internet cafe or something, or they can use other means to communicate. So the refugee fund is how you're going to raise the money. This is what I always say to you, that you don't need to spend any money on this. We're going to make sure that the people around the world who care about these issues, okay, who care about the Rohingya genocide, and you can read about it. I didn't know about half of this stuff. I didn't know about the civil war when Bangladesh was separating from Pakistan. I didn't know about the Sri Lanka civil war and the Tamil people and all of the other
Yes.
groups. And I only learned about the Uyghur genocide,
Uyghur genocide.
you know, it's going on in many parts of the world, this persecution of different groups. Okay?
Mm.
Yes. It's right. So one important information thing is getting the word out. And when I speak to, I do this show. By the way, I just want to say, you should totally come on the show, and we're gonna have, in season 2, we're gonna start putting together people that we've interviewed. So, for example, yourself and Noam Chomsky, okay, or I have Patry Friedman, who's the grandson of Milton Friedman, who's interested to come on the show. I want to start having these conversations, okay? And we're going to have a site called rational.app also. It's all about conversations that we have. But I think I started recording it. I think this would be really good. If you don't mind, okay? I would have a video editor put it on the YouTube as well.
Sure.
This is the kind of stuff that will explain to people around the world why they should donate, right? Why they should do what they did here with Unchained for Ukraine, right? Trust me, when there is a government like the United States government or the UK government that wants to make the case that you should help a country, you're going to hear it all over the world, okay? Remember when we had in Paris attacks, we had the attacks in Paris. All the countries in the world had solidarity with, we stand with Paris, right? We stand with France. What's interesting is at the same time, okay, in Lebanon, in Beirut, the capital, the same day they were attacked by the same group, ISIS, okay, and no one really remembered them compared to okay. Yeah. And of course, the next day in Baghdad, there was a huge explosion.
Yes.
But people just already got used to the fact that Iraq and then Libya and others are just a civil war, just like, let's just say, unsafe countries, okay?
Yes.
But all this is crazy. 4 million refugees fleeing from the Syrian civil war, for example, into Lebanon. That's crazy, okay? Yemen, in Sa'ana, Yemen right now, what's happening? We don't know, but some people follow it. But notice how much less people talk about Yemen humanitarian crisis, okay? This was, put out by the UN, okay? Outright catastrophe over rising hunger, war and humanitarians, okay? This is this year, March. Some of their food comes from Ukraine, actually, 1/3 of their food supply. Here's my question. Why don't we hear about this as much as we hear about the war in Ukraine? I think it's because the governments choose what to promote and what not to promote, right? They pick winners and losers in this area also. So I think it's very important to build infrastructure, right? That's what we're building. That's for the people, by the people. And so it's not just for the people, because the government infrastructure is for the people, but it's managed by the government, okay? I say it should be for the people and by the people too. So the media, what I'm going to send you later, you might find this interesting, and this is how we're going to have these conversations going on also, because the conversation is important. There's a media component to this as well that you alluded to. The media component is getting the word out from the people on the ground, the refugees themselves that have to live these lives. Has anyone ever seen a video by a Rohingya person? Probably not. Has anybody heard a video by Uyghur from China? Maybe. And that's because now the US government, has been in a feud with China in some ways and highlighting some of the human rights abuses. Okay. But have you heard any videos from Yemen, from, where the Saudi coalition is bombing? No, because they're our allies. So we don't allow videos from there to be, it's not that we don't allow, it's just we don't promote as the US. Okay.
Of speech.
So this is just really quickly for 1 minute. I want to show you a couple areas from this interview I had.
We just don't have freedom after speech.
So
Congress shall make no law abridging speech or religion. By which method then was it actually abridged? By which method was it
Just as Congress shall make no law preventing speech.
Preventing speech.
But it doesn't say that the government can't go after you and accuse you because they didn't like your speech.
Okay.
So this is a show I've had. I'm not going to go into it right now and talking about how freedom of speech fares in capitalistic countries. Noam Chomsky agrees the United States has the best freedom of speech of any country. Okay, he's a big critic of the United States, but even he admits that. He says it started in the 60s with some Supreme Court decisions. The thing is that, yes, we have freedom of speech, but even with all that freedom of speech, what happens is that a lot of the time, you basically have this. You have a top-down approach where some organizations are simply buying up all the local stations and telling them what to say and what stories to run. And I'm not only talking about Fox News, right? I'm talking about they had a concerted campaign to discredit NPR and public television that was funded in a completely different way, that was democratically funded. So here is what it looks like. This is real. This is actually real newscasts reading the same script, and it's like a Black Mirror episode in a way. If this was normally, this is not going on to this extent that they're reading talking points, but this is actually what it looks like when they do. Hold on.
Have you seen this segment on your local news?
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism.
But we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible one-sided...
If you have, your local news station is owned by Sinclair Broadcast Group. If you haven't, you've probably seen this creepy mashup making the rounds on social media.
To push their own personal bias.
This minute-long script, which fails to cite examples of irresponsible reporting, appears to echo President Trump's attacks on fake news. So what is Sinclair? And why is everyone from John Oliver to President Trump talking about it?
Dozens of reporters forced to repeat the same message over and over again like members of a brainwashed cult.
Anyway, so this is capitalism. In capitalism, there are some failure modes like factory farming, like pollution perhaps, and negative externalities. But one of them is that, and this is what I talk about with Noam Chomsky, is that they select for profit, right? There's a big difference between something like Facebook, which the feed is mostly about how to make you click more. So all of this is going to be about outrage and ads and understanding more just sensationalism, okay? And so it's going to whip people up into whatever they want you to follow for clicks. And that's important. And even the New York Times admits, New York Times basically adjusts headlines based on clicks. So even New York Times is not above this type of thing. They need to have subscriptions. Fox News needs to have subscriptions. This is explicitly a profit-driven industry to a large extent today. And by giving the profit motive, because they have to pay for all these buildings and all these people, right? I mean, otherwise, who's going to collect the information? Well, what I'm telling you is who's going to collect the information is the people on the ground, is the people who are filming the drone footage of Homs, Syria, and people on the ground who are producing these videos. So we need basically with the blockchain, we start disintermediating, removing the middleman, in this case the governments, the big tech corporations, who are selectively filtering and deplatforming and not even so much deplatforming, but drawing people's attention to one or another conflict and completely ignoring all these other conflicts that we have been talking about. So basically, I just want to play you 30 seconds of this and tell me what you think. I mean, honestly, the media component is something we should also do. Maybe not on day one, but this is the last thing I just wanted to ask you about. So this is the media component. They can print stories that are essentially lukewarm. A lot of organizations now, news organizations, have been pushed to print stories that are sensational and only tell one side of the story. They may say, look what Trump did, or look what Biden did. How could they? And then outrage happens and the story gets shared and shared and shared. So do you think that capitalism and the profit motive and market competition shapes the way that these stories have become one-dimensional or only tell one side? Because if they started to defect, and if Fox News decided suddenly to say the liberals are not so bad, then they would lose their audience. What do you think about that?
I think it's exactly what's been going on for over a century. So if you go back to the earlier period, say the founding of the country, there was a very different conception of freedom of speech. The founding fathers, if you look at the Constitution, it has in it not just the First Amendment, it also establishes the post office. That had a lot to do with freedom of speech. The post office was designed as a way for the government to promote diversity of the press. About 80% of post office business.
What's interesting, I was going to say, as I interview these people, Noam Chomsky's 95 years old, okay? And he has a wealth of knowledge about the past, and sometimes a lot more than others because he's so interested in it. What's interesting is that in the past, we did need human organizations to, big centralized organizations like the post office for freedom of speech. And we really did need them for our infrastructure, right, to deliver the mail. Today, we don't. Today, we have the internet and we have technology. Email protocols like Bitcoin and Ethereum are disintermediating and removing the need for the post office and for other things. So it's an interesting conversation I have. Sometimes people are, on the left are rightly saying that we need institutions to help people get things done. But I think as we go forward, as we go forward, we're going to see increasingly online. Clay Shirky, I'm not going to play this, but Clay Shirky got a really good talk. This was literally 2005 when it started into like social media. He talked about how institutions are going to be replaced by global collaboration. And I think to a large extent it's happened. It's happened on GitHub. It's happened on Wikipedia. And you could see that Wikipedia and GitHub they feel a lot more open and useful. And here you go. Here's all the information. Here's all the software. You just use it however you want, right? That idea of a gift economy where everyone just adds a little bit, where everyone has to go through a peer review process for the privilege of giving away their information for free to the world. That's what science is about, and that's what. So I think it's not necessarily left versus right, but this endeavor of online collaboration, science, peer review, Wikipedia, all of this is, in my opinion, a much more wholesome and healthy way to organize ourselves economically than an extractive for-profit thing like Britannica or Expedia, So basically, that's what I want to say. Anytime you have Britannica, which you needed back when you had 244 years, you needed people to print books and you needed people to sell it door to door in a top-down capitalist way. But today, I think that anyone could just go on Wikipedia, and if otherwise I would never find out about the Rohingya people and what they're going through. Because people are able to go and edit and collaborate from around the world. So what I would like to say is I think we need platforms for people not just to learn, but also to tell their story the other way too, and to have a read-write web And what we should really be focusing on is how to prevent corruption of that, because that's what Noam Chomsky talks about. And a lot of people tell me is, Greg, like, your platform can get corrupted too. People are going to have botnets, and they're going to prevent. You know what I mean? So that's the only other problem is, this information, status of elephants in Africa. Stephen Colbert decided to create this idea. Okay, Stephen Colbert, and he said, just go and change Wikipedia. And he sent an army of people to change Wikipedia. I don't know. There's always going to be issues, but I think it's important for people to have a platform that is by the people. And otherwise, you guys are just going to wait until the Burmese government and the Bengali governments help you. And I don't think that's going to happen very soon.
Yeah, that's not happening at all. Not only soon. Yeah, that's not happening. Yeah. So, okay. So let's make this. Let's take this conversation forward and see. So how do I get to use the platform about the education, and then we make a plan. And I think last year we have left off the conversation because we haven't found a way where we can click in terms of identity. That might take some time, because identity requires a lot of effort on the ground as well to do registration and to verify people and so this is something simple if you have the product ready, and then we can see what is the model that you are looking for. You can write me an email or something that we can start the conversation off and see. So we will be collaborating with Cubics, right? Or Intercoin?
Cubics for the social, and then Intercoin for the blockchain.
For the blockchain. Okay. Yeah. So this one doesn't have any blockchain element, I guess, right? Educational platform.
Doesn't. However, once you earn enough credits, you might want to use the blockchain. So we only really use the blockchain when we start getting scale. When there's lots of, like, when you hold an election. Okay, you might want to have voting by the community. So you need that. Another thing is when you have large and valuable things, like who is the president, or who has this role or that role, and things like that, they could be put on the blockchain. And also the fund. The other reason we use is to move value geographically. But when it comes to learning and information and collaboration and scheduling dinner, and that's Cubics.
So yeah, okay, so no problem. We can sort that things out. So if you can, I don't know whether is there a way we can put it in a proposal about the like the educational element. Let's say how we're going to collaborate and learn to earn model, and like the refugee fund, whatever we should work on, and then have a timeline. And with this one, and then because you guys also need some sort of funding to move these things forward.
We do.
So we need to also, right? We need to find a way how do we go funding? Do we go any venture capitalist or any dedicated funding, or maybe a crowdfunding? We need to do a couple of sessions, I guess, before. So let's, I guess. So what we need, I have already told you on the table, that is we need an educational platform, right, that can actually host courses, and then people come and register the courses. Once they come register the courses, we deliver the course, and they do the course, and then they get certified.
Right. Okay.
And then later on, our coin can be dropped, something like that along the way on the phase 2, maybe. Phase 1, we make it as simple as possible. And then so what are the costs involved, and how much it's going to cost us, or cost you, or cost us together.
Right.
And then where we're going to get that fund. And then moving forward, because this is a very genuine use case, and I believe there's a lot of people will help genuinely. And I always believe, starting something small is always good before we collapse, right? So we're not collapse in a sense that we haven't done anything because we have a lot of history. We are working on multiple projects and pilots, and we want to make sure we deliver, and then we also do a report around it saying that, okay, this is how we started. Now we can just say 1 or 2 courses for next 3 months, and once that is successful, then we can go phase 2, scaling it up. Then we need more funding, or
Exactly.
then we can move forward
Okay.
based on that.
I'll put.
So yeah, we would.
So let's do this on the teaching part. I'll put together a proposal, okay? And we could. By the way, it's okay if I contact you on WhatsApp. I think Elena gave me.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, please. Yeah, that would be good. That would be good,
Fantastic.
yes.
Yeah, it's the easiest way. It's just real time. So I'm going to put together a proposal. Hopefully, it will cover just the basic cost, right? Do it at cost integration. The other one is the refugee fund. I think the main money is going to come not from venture capital, but from donations.
From crowdfunding and stuff. Yeah, stuff
That's
like
right.
that. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. We can approach. We are working with a couple of crowdfunding agencies as well. To do a couple of our Art Academy funding and other fundings as well. And I'm also working on multiple projects. So these are some of the funding that we get is through crowdfunding. So we have good communication with them. So you just let's create the structure first, okay? How we're going to work and what's going to work and so on. Once that is done, we can, I think, move forward the next steps.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to work on that. I'll send you the first draft. You take a look.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
If I may ask, Greg, if you can show how the Intercoin app look like, because Mahmoud have already fantastic channel on YouTube with the videos as a TV Rohingya, and in that way, if we will build Rohingya teaching platform in the way as Intercoin app look like, people would see the TV as well as media, or they would have their own connection between people and so on.
All right.
Because I think that way this would work very well all together in one platform.
All right, cool. So, 1 second. All right, so let's do it, and then of course we could have another meeting later. I have to.
At least like 3-5 minutes maximum.
Okay, so really quickly, if you're interested, is that okay, Mohammed? Can I?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll show you really quickly. So the Intercoin app is using the Cubics technology to create a social network. Like we said before, just like with the Free Talk Live, okay, you can see the show every day. They record a new show. You could share episodes. You can create clips of the show.
Kharkiv region, so they never had Kharkiv city.
Right, and then basically you could see profiles of the hosts. You can call into the show, like I've shown elsewhere. It's going to start interviewing you. There's a lot of things that you can do with the show. You can earn credits for participating. So if you have a show on YouTube personally, not for the Rohingya Project, you could start this. Of course, all of these things, like this little jingle that we put together, is hosted. It could be hosted on YouTube, but it could also be hosted peer-to-peer broadcast with no reliance on big tech at all.
If you want to bring more liberty into your community, there's something you should see. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, breakthrough. It's true. It's truly something new. If you'd like to see real prosperity, start your own currency, boost the economy. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join.
So that's it. You've got essentially integrations with other open source software, such as Discourse, that's run by essentially a couple guys who ran Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange. It's integrated directly, all the profiles, everything, integrated directly into the Cubics. So now you have two open source teams working on, working on a great forum software, which then can embed, like I said, different videos and everything. So your videos are also, the discussion can take place on your site instead of taking place on YouTube. The main value proposition.
Big business casts its shadow over all of society, and you can't really have democracy as long as that's the case. Well, that's a limitation that goes deep.
So normally when your video is on YouTube, what happens is people easily get distracted, go to some other videos.
Anybody on our side?
You see? And right away you lost them. So all people are paying money to get to this place, and they're paying then to drag people away from each other. It's a zero-sum game where they are wasting money. But if you're on your own site and you bring people to your own site, notice that you control the message and you don't advertise your competitors, right? So all the stuff that goes on, all the emails that go out, is your community and all the updates. So that's basically, and of course, every one of our sites, you can earn credits and you can buy credits. It's another thing. Like the fund, once our coin is used and you're airdropping it, you'll be able to purchase credits directly through the your browser. And that's another thing that we do. So like here we have Google Pay. Boom. Google Pay right there with the banking system. I could probably just pay right now. All right, maybe not that card. Anyways, but that's the idea. So the banking system, but we could also integrate with a wallet. And that's the last thing. I think Elena wants me to show this. Okay, here. Get started. Here, I can just log in. But if so I'm going to log in just to show you. Here I'm logging in using the native account. But if I go ahead and go to something like fdl.fm and I log out, then I can log in using log out. Then I could log in using my wallet. This is where we integrate Web3. So you have something like this on the mobile phone too. You just go ahead and sign in. Boom, sign, and there. You're logged in now as Noam Chomsky in this case. So that's it. That's if you have a channel, it can pull your videos into this thing. It can help people to create clips of your video. It can help people share clips of your video on other sites. And the pitch, because we're pitching investors now, Cubics is raising money. We have some investors from Europe coming on the calls. The pitch is, look, people like to own their own platform. Why to create, twitter.com/New York Times when you could just create NewYorkTimes.com? And so, instead of having this, which is totally at the control of Twitter, and again, everyone's distracted by ads and going to other accounts immediately and leaving your thing, right? When you're on NewYorkTimes.com and you have your own software, which New York Times has amazing software. They've put out, a lot of things, including graphical animation software, including Svelte, which is a front-end framework, but also they invested in WordPress. They were one of the first investor in WordPress. So they're probably running a modified version of WordPress here. And when they go and publish, guess what they don't have? Links to all their competitors. But they still need work because you see all this like subscription nonsense. It has to be replaced with micropayments and crypto. But in general, they control the message. They collect money from you using subscriptions. And that's the pitch. It's like, hey, control your own stuff. Control your own community. So that's basically it. That's what Elena wanted me to show, I think, is,
Thanks. Yes, sounds great. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, looks good. Yes.
I must admit that I've seen your Rohingya TV, Rohingya Vision TV, and it's incredible that what you are doing. Uh, of course, I didn't understand any of the language, but when I've seen how people react, the beauty of how they respond to your videos and how they write the thank you notes and how they admire all your work to unite people internationally. It's incredible. And I'm sure that that messages needs to stay on your platform. It's the value what can build your Rohingya project immediately. That's why I think it's valuable for you to bring all these people who are commenting in as a member of your community on your platform.
Yes. I mean, for the Rohingya Vision TV, if you have seen some of the talk show that I do, it get hit, hundreds of thousands, and
Yes,
on a daily
yes.
basis, it goes up to 20, 30, 50, 50, 60,000 on the YouTube and stuff like that. So for the Rohingya community, it's very important. The channel actually talks about it. And of course, this is our side to tell rest of the world. But when you go to our YouTube, you will see quite a number of things that we are working on a daily basis. We are actually uh, Rohingya Vision, right? You have to write down Rohingya Vision. Rohingya Vision, yes, YouTube. Yes.
Okay.
So you can actually browse through some of the playlists that we do, some of the talk show that we are working on.
And also as one of the options, there is simultaneous translation as a speech translation. It might be
Yes.
very valuable for you to have at least the actual in writing something in English for people to understand what are your challenges, because in reality most of the people don't understand what are the challenges for the nation
Yeah,
that
Yes.
in
scattered
English.
all over the world.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So we try to broadcast. This organization, require a lot of effort. We have a dedicated video news on daily basis. So that requires production, that requires capturing the news and anchoring the news. And then we have also website that we write in English, and we have also writing in Rohingya language. So Rohingya language is, we have the world first Rohingya website writing the content. Once we have the unicoded, if you go to the languages, then you can see our language there. Languages down there, yes, the Rohingya down there. Yes, so this is our language, and this is what we have unicoded. Now this is considered the world first Rohingya language website.
Wow.
It's
Unicode.
absolutely amazing.
This is what about the script? This is what I would be asking on the show, by the way, when we bring you on the show. I think
Yes.
it could be when we announce the teaching on the show, the teaching app together, but
So this
also.
is a Rohingya language, and now accepted by not only Unicode, but now it is adopted by Google and Apple. You can actually now, you can go your text or to WhatsApp or something, and then you can
Wow.
select the setting, and the Rohingya language comes there now. So this is what we have been working for many years.
It's absolutely incredible achievement for the nation that
Yes.
been after more than
You can read now.
three generation without permission to speak their own language. It's
Their own
incredible.
language. Yes.
Yes.
And there is an article also written on Guardian and all this. So we've been working on this for number of years to get to the point where we are. And our vision is a media channel that we are working on as well. Just now you have seen, we do a lot of talk shows, a lot of awareness campaign as well within the community and outside the community also. So there's a couple of things that we do constantly, and there's a lot of team behind of all those projects. So, but I think we believe, education is a very important aspect of it. So we want to look into the opportunity. How can we work together that also mutually benefits you, mutually benefits us as well, and ultimately serving the community and humanity. That's what we have been, because we are against capitalistic thinking. We are against all this, wealth accumulation thinking. As long as this project can help people and also help to, support your project and our project, and as in some part of the world they call it a win-win situation. So you also, so nobody has to lose. Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
Fantastic.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, very good. So I will get you those documents put together,
Yes.
and we'll go from there.
Yes. Yeah, we'll go from there. Yes, you can communicate through the WhatsApp and so on. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
Mohammed,
Thank you
for your
very much,
time.
Alina, for arranging this meeting. I really appreciate it.
It's
Thank
always
you,
a
Mohammed.
pleasure. I'm glad. I think we're going to do a lot of big things together.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much. Thank you.
All
See you.
right.
Have a good night. Bye
See you
bye.
soon.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.